Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run for the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. So we are now seeing the end of the heat wave that we have had this week. You can see on the live radar we have got a weather front moving through. It is a cold front, so it is bringing much fresher Atlantic conditions. Now as we head into early next week, we could briefly see the heat return. Could get back towards 27, 28 degrees through Monday or Tuesday in the Far East, but it is really going to be isolated, with temperatures dipping back down by Wednesday and Thursday as we do see more fresher conditions arrive once again. It's all due to the fact that we'll have a big warm sector moving in. Also, it is going to be turning a little bit more unsettled. Yes, it's not going to be complete washout conditions, but we're not going to be seeing the bone dry conditions we've seen over the past few days. Of course, apart from the thunderstorms yesterday, bone dry for many. Not going to be seeing that over the next 5 days. Most areas will see some rain on most days, sometimes in the form of showers and storms, other times in the form of weather fronts like we're seeing at the moment. As we head into the longer range, it is looking still pretty changeable. Lots of warm conditions, cool conditions, rainy conditions and dry conditions. Kind of the theme of the summer so far, very changeable conditions. Of course, we had a very fresh June. It was slightly below average, very cold start to July, and then it's been fairly changeable since, with hotter spells and equally cooler spells as well. And that's what's going to happen for the next couple of weeks of August. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, do like and subscribe. Remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now if you start on the live radar, you can see there's this fragmented weather front moving through at the moment. It's not particularly strong, it is bringing in some chillier air, but it's not a particularly quick transition, and it's taking its time moving in. You can see the weather front is fragmenting. Now for areas in the east of this weather front, it is still very warm and muggy this evening, and it will continue to be warm and muggy until this weather front moves through overnight into tomorrow. And here we have seen temperatures still touching heat wave conditions around the 27-28 degree mark. Further westwards, we've seen moderate areas of rain moving in, again fragmenting, so on and off, but generally turning things much cooler. You can see that on the temperatures. We're calling this around 9 p.m. You can see still very warm and muggy in the east, but further westwards, still not cold, but it's definitely much fresher. A bit of a chill to the air with the temperatures back towards average or slightly below average for the time of year. Now if you look at the net weather, we can see the top temperatures for today. These are the absolute top temperatures. Again, not incorporating every single weather station, but we get a good array here. And you can see widely 26 to 28 degrees across many weather stations, all the way from Humberside down towards London. So all the way from Yorkshire down towards London. So yeah, big wide spread. Again, showing you that it has been another very warm, hot day in the east, but it will be changing as we head into tomorrow and Sunday. So if you start on the latest UKV now, you can see the precipitation slowly edging through this evening, and you can see there could be a bit of rain in the Far East for the morning, and that's the remnants of the weather front eventually sweeping through. Into tomorrow, it's still a pretty dry day, sunny, with a few showers around. It looks like it will be very nice, but the temperatures will be a good 3 to 5 degrees cooler with that weather front moving through. Could still hit 24, 25 degrees with some lingering heat around, but nowhere near as hot as the past few days. As we progress into Sunday, then we start to see some more rain heading in from the west, and you see here quite a deluge arriving for parts of the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland and Scotland further eastwards, drier but cloudier. As we head into Monday, look at that, more heavy rain sweeping in from the west and making more of an appearance further eastwards, some heavy thundery showers through Tuesday. But it's ahead of this weather front where we do see a brief spot of dry conditions, sunny conditions through Monday and Tuesday, where we could see the temperatures rise once again towards the 27 or 28 degree mark before eventually that rain sweeps through and those storms do move through in the east. As we head into Wednesday and beyond, it's likely to be, as I said, much fresher. And you see that from the upper air temperatures back towards average for the time of year, just temporarily warmer than average through Monday and Tuesday. You see a big warm area moves through, but very temporary as it eventually does get swept away as we head into the middle of the week. Now, if you look at max temperatures, you see today, again, widely up towards the mid to high 20s. As we head into tomorrow, still warm, but more towards the low 20s and high teens. Into Sunday, it's a similar story, maybe struggling to get much above 20 degrees in quite a few areas that have been high 20s or touching 30 degrees this week. Still maybe 21 or 22 in the far south and east. Into Monday, though, changes again, 26, 27, maybe a 28 in the east with that warm slot. And you can see the same could be said for Tuesday. A little bit more isolated towards the east coast and the far east and southeast, but still could reach 27 or 28, all to be dependent on the timings of those thunderstorms and those showers. And then for Wednesday, still 23, 24, but inevitably turning a bit cooler. Now, if we do have a look at the medium to long range start on the latest GFS, you can see a westerly flow is starting to come in. That brief ridge of high pressure in for early next week, giving that briefly warm and dry conditions for eventually fresher Atlantic conditions do sweep in. And that looks like to prevail for much of late next week. Then we see a bit of a next tropical system moving in from northeast Canada. Doesn't look too severe, but does get picked up by the jet stream and could produce some pretty unsettled weather as it sweeps through in around 7 to 10 days time, and then it stays fairly unsettled up and down all the way to 384 hours. You can see that hot air that we've seen at the moment retreats more towards the Mediterranean as we do start seeing much fresher conditions. You can see that very well encapsulated by these blues showing more below average temperatures. Doesn't mean it's going to happen all the time, but as I said, changeable conditions looks like it's going to be the way forward. If you compare to the latest GM, again that brief ridge of high pressure early next week, again turning hotter and drier. But then we do see westerly winds return, fresher and unsettled, all the way through to day 10, where again it does look pretty horrible indeed. Again, lots of rain would be moving in and fresher conditions. If we compare to the ECMWF, again, we do see that brief ridge of high pressure. We do see the westerly winds with low pressure, and all the way to day 10, again looking reasonably unsettled. But we do see a glimmer of hope there in the last couple of days of the run, with a higher pressure building back in, and instead of the heat retreating towards the Mediterranean, it still holds much of northern Europe, and actually for the UK we're still pretty hot, and if we do put in the temperatures here, back into the mid to high 20s. So ECMWF a little bit rogue there, with a much hotter run and drier run than what we're seeing from the GM and the GFS, where the jet stream's more active. Here it's pushed slightly further northwards and is a bit weaker, so that is something to keep a close eye on. Now, if you finally compare to the ensembles, very up and down over the next 5 days, that's expected. Brief spike in heat early next week, but generally we are back towards average. As we head into the middle period of the month, a little bit of a trend of slightly below average temperatures, but only by a degree or two, and more unsettled conditions. So definitely seeing that a little bit of a trend there towards slightly cooler unsettled conditions for the middle part of the month. But again, we'll have to wait and see. It is still very changeable at the moment. And if we do compare to the ECMWF ensembles, unfortunately we don't have the midnight, so the midday runs, but you can see that again, above average early next week, turning fresher, and then generally hovering around average, but a little bit more above average there towards the middle of the period, and some hotter runs appearing. So it definitely looks like the ECMWF is seeing something slightly different to the GFS and the GM, where it is showing the potential for some more hotter patterns starting to appear. You can see precipitation is still moderate, but it's nowhere near as high given the number of ensembles here compared to the GFS. So definitely a little bit of a difference here between those two runs, bit of disagreement. The ECMWF definitely something a bit drier, hotter. GFS a little bit wetter and more and cooler. And I do think generally it'll all be due to that placement of the jet stream and that high pressure system towards Europe. ECMWF holding on a bit more, GFS not so much. We'll have to wait and see how it does play out, but for the time being, up and down, some hot dry conditions to come for some again on Monday and Tuesday, but for most it is going to be quite a bit wetter with more rain coming in from the west, and it is going to be fresher, back towards average, or maybe even below average in places. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.